Howdy, and thanks for watching. If you're watching this, you're wondering, how do I catch bass in super deep cover? A lot of grass, a lot of growth, a lot of weeds, lily pads. How do I catch them? I'm in Connecticut. I've got a ton of shallow water lakes. I've got hundreds. Shallow water wise, last year I clocked 300 hours just fishing the shallow waters. And I caught some big bass. So I'm going to tell you how I did it because, well, I don't like keeping secrets because it's silly. A lot of guys, they don't want to talk about this. A lot of guys, they always know better. Well, today we're going to talk about how to actually catch them. You're going to hear lots of rumors, moon cycles, barometric pressure, things like that. It's all shenanigans. The bass feed when they feed. There's no real evidence otherwise. So I'm going to put you up. Well, first off, if you're near the Connecticut area and you want to go fishing on a boat and you don't have one, shoot me a message. And this spring, this summer, this fall, I'll take you out fishing. I've got plenty of extra room. I'll put you on some big fish. It's up to you to catch them. So I'm going to kind of show you what I deal with. Sometimes I'll come up in an area that's 4 to 12 feet deep, and it has a lot of weeds. I mean, thick as thick. I mean, it's like a haystack. And it always approaches within 1 foot, maybe 6 inches of the top of the water. Lily pads. Everything that makes fishing difficult. So don't let that get to you. This is what I do. I pull my boat up, boom, right near the drop off. If this goes in further, I'll follow it in further. I'll chop up weeds with my trolling motor like nobody's business. If I gotta get in there to get it, I'm gonna get it. One thing is, guys don't like reeling in weeds. Oh, I got a whole bunch of weeds on my line. Oh, I thought I had a strike, but it's just weeds. Don't worry about that. That's not a big deal. That means you're in the right spot. You're going to catch the fish. The bait fish are going to hide. The bait fish know there's somebody who wants to eat them. So they're going to be in these deep weeds. They're going to be near the drop-offs. They're going to be in that area. That's where the bass fish, or the bass feed. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So I've got a couple kind of baits that I like to fish. First off, we'll start with my all-year fishing bait, and that would be Rebel crawfish. You can't go wrong with this guy. He dives between 6 and 10 feet on a hard crank, but he still floats, right? So I caught my biggest bass of the season on this guy. I don't know if you can see that knot. Caught him on that knot right there. Or caught her, excuse me. 6 pounds. Day after Christmas. Cold water. And I was chugging this through the weeds. And I mean, I'm pulling it. I'm pull, wait, let it float, snap the reel, make him look like he's doing what a crawfish does, right? Boom. Before I know it, 6 pound largemouth on my line, and that's the fish that you see in the title picture. I love this bait. Really can't go wrong with it. Lots of noise. But it's not my go-to. But that's my all-year one. So how would you fish this in the weeds? Cast. Boom. I'm in this area. Draw it down. Wiggle it through. One of these guys is chilling in this area. You can kind of see the red areas I wrote. Those are the fish, right? You got to get it where they can see him. If you're cruising near the top, it ain't going to happen. You got to get in the weeds. And that's how I caught that fella. So, all year, talk about that later. Well, actually, we won't. But that's my all-year fish. Fishing. When they're not biting, that's what I go to. One thing about the crawfish is so many wives' tales. A lot of guys say, well, the bass know the crawfish isn't worth the digestive process that it takes, and no, negative. They see food, they eat it. That's bar none. That's the process. If they're in a feeding mood, if it's willing, or if it's easy for them to get it within that expenditure, they're going to take it, they're going to swallow it, you're going to have your bass. Spring and summer. So spring up here is, well, it's long in Connecticut. I would call it long. I'm from Texas. So that transition period, soft plastics, finesse worms, right? I don't mind fishing ultralights. I'll fish ultralights for bass. I've got right here. I've got a Shakespeare, and it is a 5-foot light action, 4 to 10 pound line reel or rod. It's only 5 feet. Oh, you can't catch a big bass on that? Yes, you can. As long as you do your hook set properly and you maintain the line once he's set. So pull these guys apart. Nice little finesse worm, green, red, black, everything you could have asked for. Hook him up on a Texas rig, cast him out. This is one of the things I kind of want to hit on here is, so you've got this worm and you're going to cast him out, but once again, you don't want to bring up a bunch of weeds, you just want to catch fish. Forget about the weeds. You're going to catch them. You're going to reel them in. Take that trick worm, cast him out into the dirty. You need to practice on your casting. If you're not catching fish on a regular basis, your casting is the one thing you need to focus on. You should be able to hit a 1-foot circle, diameter circle, from 7,500 yards. If you can't hit where you're aiming for, keep practicing. You're going to pick out these spots, especially with something like a finesse worm. I'm going to say, under that branch, and I can see these other branches going to water, I'm going to drop that finesse worm right here, and I'm going to let him sink. Another thing, Texas rig, weight. Lightest weight you can get away with. If it takes you 3 minutes to get that bait back to the boat, then you're doing it right. You're working it slow. They don't want to have to chase after something crazy, right? Sometimes you'll luck out and you'll get that big one and just right when it hits the water. That's cool. Don't always fish like that. Just be ready for it. So cast like you intend to catch a fish. Finesse worm this area. Slowly work it. And once you hit an area like this, there may be a stump. You'll see this a lot. There's a stump or a rock pile, and the weeds aren't as great in that area. You'll feel your finesse worm drop. Let it sit there for a minute. Count to 10. Tap it. Count to 10 again. Tap it. Nothing. Bring it on into the boat. Try again. Right? So, another thing about these guys is, especially people like to portray bass as like these super intelligent things. They're set. They know what they're going to do. They breed, they feed, they chill. That's really all there is to it. You can cast off the boat this way and pull it along like a ridge line right here with that finesse worm and bounce it around. You may pick up a nice one. Nice female. Big old bass. Happened to me a few times. I remember whenever you cast, you're not always casting off the front of the boat. You're not always casting to the right. You see these guys, they pull their boat up and they're following the shoreline, and the port side of their boat is facing the shoreline. It's the only place they cast. Don't do that. Cast everywhere, right? Now, I'm not a big fan of crazy fast action fishing with noisy baits, but I am a big fan of fan casting. So if you're not trying everywhere, well, you're not trying. Because honestly, it doesn't matter what sonar you have or how much knowledge of that lake you have, you don't know where they're at. Good luck. So, Texas rig, working through the weeds, bounce it off the lily pads, do what you got to do. And that spring is really the best time for that, at least in the northeastern part of the country. I can use it all the way into deep summer, but after that, summer, I transition. Take that worm out of there. I transition to topwater. I transitioned early to topwater. A lot of people into May, I was throwing topwater. People thought I was crazy. A lot of kayakers are looking at me. He's fishing topwater. Boom, fish on, 2.5 pounds. Really, man? Cast in the same spot. Boom, 3-pounder. Boom. Cast away, different direction. Boom, 5-pound. Right? Topwater. One of my favorites, Rebel Popar. Especially when they're feeding aggressive. The more, like, you'll hear people say, well, that bait's good when it's the right time to use it. This bait is good, and it's better when it's the right time to use it. So, when I see people using spinner baits, that tells me that the bass they're warmed up, they're feeding fast, and I can cast this guy out, let him hit the water, boom, set for a second, pop, 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 wait, pop, wait, wait, pop, pop, wait, boom, fish on, right? When you least expect it. That one time when you go to change the radio station, or you go to put your hat on, or maybe apply some sunscreen, and you got your lure out there, that's when they're going to hit it. And top water during the summer. Another thing, jerkbaits, if it's top water time, jerkbaits work just as well, but I love top water fishing. And the nice thing about the top water fishing is this whole area is open for me. Lily pads, everything. I don't care, right? So I'll cast here, and I'll work it through this area. And if I can zigzag through those lily pads, I will. Caught a nice 5-pounder. I mean, one with a big fat belly, right? On the edge of the weeds right here, 6 feet from the boat, doing that exact same thing, and he dove straight down. We had to dig him out of the weeds. It was actually a lot of fun. Best fighting fish I had all year. Let her go. Anyways, so it's coming fall, right? Let's say it's coming fall time. You still have a lot of growth. You haven't had a big storm, or you haven't had a big tide, a big algae bloom, whatever it takes to kill these weeds. It hasn't happened. Let's just say that. So you still have all these weeds. What do I do? I'll still run crankbaits through there. I'll back my boat up to where I'm about here, and I fan cast, and I'll take a crankbait, and I'll start with one that goes down to 6 feet. I'll cast in the weeds, pull it through, nothing. I'll bring it out a little bit this way, a little bit that way, a little bit this way, and then I go down to deeper. So let's say This was a 10-foot crankbait. What is this guy? 6-foot width. Let's say this was a 10-foot. I prefer the floating ones because I can pause and wait for him to catch some, go up in depth a little bit, and then I can work him back down. And I can go over the top of the weeds. I can, if I'm, let's say I'm casting towards the camera, and I've got these weeds down here, and they're right around 8 foot. Well, I can take the 6-foot guy, 10-foot guy. Doesn't matter. You can do it on a 15 to 20. Bring him down until he hits something, and you wait. It slowly comes up. Boom. That's when it happens. So, and then you kind of run into the issue is all else fails. What do I need to do? When I can't get anything to bite, sometimes they're just not biting. Sometimes I'll go deep. I hear about guys fishing like 60, 70 feet for bass. I don't do that. I don't do it because it's not healthy for them to come up from 60 feet to sea floor that quick. Also, well, I don't have a lot of deep water like that around here. If there was a safe way to do it, I would do it. One thing I will do, can't say enough about this guy. It's KVD. I don't even know, like, everyone's like, oh, KVD is the best fisherman ever. Sure he is. But this particular lure that they put his name on, this little sinking crankbait, I can get him down to about 20 feet on a 10-pound test. 12-pound test, I can get him down to about 17 feet. And that's waiting for him to sink. So he's not necessarily completely sinker, but add a little bit of weight, you might get him down a little bit further. But sometimes I'll run it real deep. I find that to be less productive. When you're fishing for bass, especially when there's a lot of cover, well, they're almost always guaranteed to be in the cover. So if that cover has an area where they can run down and hide, they're going to be in that cover area. You can go and fish rock outcrops, everything else in that area, and you might find a big nasty one. But a lot of you guys are just out to have a good time, maybe fill up the live well. This is how you're gonna do it. Work those weeds. Get your lures dirty. Clean them off. Throw that shit back in the water. Cast again. Keep doing that. I took a fellow out fishing recently, well, this past summer, and he cast it in the weeds. Boom. What did he have? He had one of these. Show you what he had. It's one of these little trick worms, right? What do they call these? Perfect plastic, coffee scented guys. He had one of these, but the tail was bitten off by a pickerel, and he only had about that much, about a 3/0 hook. And the fishing trip was mostly just to take his son out and have a good time. But he's just sitting there on the back of the boat, dragging it along as I trolled along. He didn't touch it, he didn't tap it, he didn't do nothing. Boom, 6-pound bass. So they're in the weeds. Ain't no doubt about it. They'll always be there. That's where the food is. You're going to hear all sorts of rumors. Just stick with fish the weeds, fish the dirty. And once you kind of get in the groove of it, you won't be disappointed. So, if you want to go fishing with me, let me know. I'll take you out, and I'll put you on a big one. And if you have any questions or comments, just throw it out there, especially if you think I'm wrong. I'm always about learning more, so let me know. Thank you.